Please welcome to the stage today's Master of Ceremonies, Doug Shoup, Corporate Communications and Program Manager, Automobile Club of Southern California.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the 18th Annual Mobility 21 Summit. I am pleased to be your MC and participate in this one-of-a-kind transportation summit. And we do have an amazing program for you all today. First, we want to thank the Mobility 21 partners for all of the hard work that they do on behalf of our entire region. The Automobile Club of Southern California, Chambers of Commerce, Alliance of Ventura and Santa Barbara counties, Inland Empire Economic Partnership, Los Angeles Area Chamber of Commerce, Los Angeles County Metropolitan Transportation Authority, MetroLink, Orange County Business Council, Orange County Transportation Authority, Riverside County Transportation Commission, San Bernardino County Transportation Authority, Southern California Association of Governments, Ventura County Transportation Commission, Mobility 21's advisory board members, and you, the members of Mobility 21. Together, we are one region, one voice, and one future. This year's theme, Beyond the Limits, is very appropriate as we look forward and beyond the limits. California, of course, is at the center of the national and global stage for our strength, economy, and most importantly, our innovation. As emerging technologies incubate and pilot here in California, the nation and the world are watching, learning, and benefiting from what we do right here in the Golden State. How can we, as transportation community, take our industry beyond the limits to transform the status quo and breathe new life into our mobility systems? Today, we will have more than 60 speakers, from key elected officials to public and private sector experts, in our 3 general sessions and 8 breakout sessions. The discussions throughout the day will challenge each of us to think beyond the limits and find partnerships, solutions, and innovations to ensure California's continued leadership on the national and the global stage. We would like to first thank our sponsors, without whom this summit would not be possible. This year's titanium sponsor is HNTB. This morning's opening session sponsors are Parsons and Skanska. Also, thank you to all of our other sponsors and supporting organizations whose names you see listed on the screens. We do truly appreciate all of your support. Now I would like to welcome the elected officials from across our region who work so tirelessly for transportation. Now, please kindly hold your applause until after I call all of the names. We do have quite a few names here, and we'll give them all a big applause at the end. Robert Amperano, Mayor of the City of Imperial. Lisa Bartlett, Supervisor, Orange County 5th District. Art Brown, Mayor of the City of Buena Park. John Cruikshank, Mayor Pro Tem, Rancho Palos Verdes. Lucy Dunn, Commissioner, California Transportation Commission. John Dutry, Mayor of the City of Montclair. Margaret Finlay, Council Member, City of Duarte. John Haribidian, Council Member, City of Sierra Madre. Jeff Hewitt, Supervisor, Riverside County District 5. Fran Inman, Chair of the California Transportation Commission. Bill John, Mayor of the City of Big Bear Lake. Kevin Jeffries, Supervisor, Riverside County. Raymond Gregory, Council Member, City of Cathedral City. Margaret Clark, Mayor of Rosemead. Marcia McLean, Mayor of the City of Santa Clarita. Darcy McNobe, Mayor of the City of Grand Terrace. L. Dennis Michael, Mayor of the City of Rancho Cucamonga. Lisa Middleton, Council Member of the City of Palm Springs. Manuel Minjares, Chairman of the Ventura County Transportation Commission. Rita Ramirez, Mayor Pro Tem, City of Victorville. Dana Reed, Council Member, City of Indian Wells. Al Rios, Council Member, City of Southgate. Ali Saleh, Mayor of the City of Bell. Jason Scott, Mayor of the City of Corona. Tim Shaw, Council Member, City of La Habra. Wes Speak, Council Member, City of Corona. Scott Vinton, Council Member, City of Murrieta. Alan Wapner, Council Member, City of Ontario. Jim White, Commissioner, Ventura County Transportation Commission. Hillary Norton, Commissioner of the California Transportation Commission. David Kim, Secretary of Transportation for CalSTA, and a representative from Senator Richard Roth's office, California's 31st District. Now, big applause for all of our elected officials here today. A big thank you to all of our elected leaders for joining us today and for everything that you do to move our region beyond the limits. We are so thrilled to see this amazing sold-out crowd here today. And as you can all see, the ballroom is at full capacity. So please take your time today getting to your seats. And if you do need assistance, look for one of the Mobility 21 Summit volunteers, and they will usher you to an open seat. It is now my pleasure to introduce the 2019 Chair of Mobility 21. While managing an annual budget of nearly $1 billion and overseeing the delivery of planning, design, and construction of transportation projects throughout one of the largest counties in the nation, somehow Dr. Wolf also finds time to learn a classical instrument or two, build a cabin, fight rattlesnakes with his bare hands, and raise 3 beautiful children with his wife. An aerospace engineer by education and Caltrans official by trade. Please help me welcome to the podium Dr. Ray Wolf, Executive Director of the San Bernardino County Transportation Authority and Chair of Mobility 21.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, everyone, and welcome. As we kick off today's summit, I want to take a brief moment and recount our organization's history. Mobility 21 started in 2002 as a collaboration between LA Metro, the Los Angeles Chambers of Commerce, and our friends at the Auto Club of Southern California. The first conference that they hosted attracted nearly 500 attendees. Today, we are closing in on 1,400. It's huge. There has never been a greater assemblage of people ever in the history of mankind. And Jenny, I want to make sure that you tweet this out, because there may be some that question this. Our organization today represents a broad coalition of public and private sector leaders. We have a growing influence in Sacramento and in Washington, D.C. Our success is derived from the partnerships we have fostered through the years, the uniqueness of our board construct, and you. Each and every one of you are an influencer. And I challenge you today, as you attend the breakout sessions, make sure that you fill out the speaker cards and that you engage in the conversation, because we want you to be a part of the solution. We need to hear from you, because that is the power of our coalition. I also encourage you to make time to go to the exhibitors and visit and make new contacts, because that is the power of this coalition, and it's the power of the summit today. Have a wonderful day here today, and thank you again for coming.
Thank you, Dr. Wolf, for helping lead the great coalition of Mobility 21 over this past year. Please help me give another warm round of applause for Dr. Wolf, Mobility 21 Chair. Now, as many of you know, we have a lot of traffic here in Southern California, and well, you know, we are trying to do something about it. There have been challenges, and Southern California, of course, is a very big region. We have made incredible progress, and yet we have a lot more work to do together as a region. Please take a look at this fun video.
Please give a warm round of applause for the Mobility 21 Board of Directors. And now for a very special surprise.
Thank you to the incredible Mobility 21 Board of Directors for building a positive legacy for our future mobility. Your leadership, partnership, and dedication to the people of Southern California will be felt for generations to come. Also, a big thank you to Mickey Mouse, and please join Mickey after his cheese break in the registration foyer from 10:15 to 10:45 this morning for photos in front of the castle. Another big round of applause. Our next speaker was first elected to the La Habra City Council in 2008, serving as mayor in 2012 and 2018. In 2012, he was appointed to the OCTA Board of Directors and is one of 2 Orange County representatives serving on the Los Angeles to San Diego San Luis Obispo Rail Corridor Agency Board of Directors. In addition to serving as this year's chair of the Orange County Transportation Authority, he serves on OCTA's Executive Committee, Transit Committee, Legislative and Communications Committee, and the State Route 91 Advisory Committee. Please help me welcome to the podium OCTA Chair and City of La Habra Councilman Tim Shaw.
Good morning, everybody. It's great to be with you, and welcome to the happiest place on earth, Orange County, California, and more specifically, Disneyland. This is the 18th Annual Mobility 21 Summit, and it's a pleasure to have it here in the great Orange County. Our summit this year includes an impressive agenda and diverse group of transportation professionals, community leaders, and elected officials, and I'm sure you will find your time here today to be educational and thought-provoking. I am proud that Orange County is part of the Mobility 21 effort. This regional effort has played a vital role in delivering major transportation projects. And this summit provides an opportunity for all of us to share information and new ideas with each other. That strengthens our ability to enhance the overall transportation network, ensures future economic growth, and improves the quality of life for the residents of our region. As Southern California's leading transportation advocacy group, Mobility 21 has become a driving force in forming transportation policy. Southern California is the most important region in the country for the movement of goods, and Mobility 21 is truly regional in our approach in making that possible for our entire country. With that, each local agency has a voice that needs to be part of the solution. I applaud each of you for your continued commitment to fulfilling the mission of Mobility 21, and please enjoy the summit.
Thank you, Chair Shaw, for your leadership at OCTA. We appreciate you and, of course, OCTA for being steadfast partners to our industry as California takes transportation beyond the limits. Our next speaker is the chair of the Los Angeles County Metropolitan Transportation Authority and mayor of the city of Inglewood. James T. Butts was sworn in as Inglewood's 12th mayor in 2011. He has 45 years of public safety and municipal government experience. For the past 3 decades, he has served as general manager and assistant general manager for several large and complex municipal organizations. From renovation of the Forum to opening the Global 2028 Olympics, Mayor Butts has transformed all aspects of Inglewood and raised the profile of the city to regional and national significance. Please help me welcome to the stage Metro's Chair, Mayor of the City of Inglewood, James T. Butts.
Well, good morning. On behalf of the Los Angeles County Metropolitan Transportation Authority, I welcome you again to Mobility 21. As chair of the Metro Board this year, I can tell you that Metro has an extremely ambitious year ahead. We're now working aggressively to advance a huge portfolio of transportation initiatives. These projects and programs will greatly improve our mobility options in LA County and create a more sustainable, innovative, and multimodal future for residents and visitors. We are now reimagining our bus network through our next-gen bus study, and in the coming months, we'll release our draft service plan that shows what our future bus systems will look like. Dozens of transit, highway, and other mobility projects are in the planning stages or are under construction as we sit here today. Today, we contemplate the overarching themes of housing, economy, and resiliency, and going beyond the limits. I'm proud to tell you that Metro is leading the charge on all these fronts. I'm going to give you just a few examples. Metro is certainly not in the housing business, but we clearly recognize the need for affordable housing and are doing our part to build more of it here in the state of California. Right now, 34% of all units built on Metro land are covenanted affordable units. Metro's active joint development portfolio includes 9 projects now under negotiations. An impressive 41% of the housing units are proposed to be affordable to households that are at or below 60% of the area median income. That will bring the total number of affordable units on Metro property to nearly 4,500. That's quite a contribution to the cause of affordable housing for a transportation agency. All told, Metro has the most progressive affordable housing policies of any transportation agency in the country. I might add that individual cities have a contribution to make in providing affordable housing as well. As mayor of the city of Inglewood, I have personally helped secure affordable housing through a $100 million community investment plan agreement with the Los Angeles Clippers, soon to be the Los Angeles Clippers of Inglewood. This agreement represents the largest package of local investments connected to the development of a sports arena in the state's history. So clearly, affordable housing is a team sport and a joint effort. It is also intrinsically linked to our prospects of future economic prosperity. After all, housing should be available for everyone. We should not be priced out of our own neighborhoods. We must have access to new job opportunities. In the city of Inglewood, when I took office in 2011, our unemployment rate was 17.5%, one of the highest in the state of California. As of June of this year, our unemployment rate is down to 4.7%. That's the lowest unemployment rate of any minority-majority city in the state of California. And we must have greater means for traveling between homes and jobs without adding to regional congestion and contributing to global climate change. And that's why Metro's transportation sales tax measures are so vital to our region's future. Combined, they constitute a strong economic engine that will reap benefits for virtually everyone in our county for the decades to come. Metro's $120 billion Measure M transportation sales tax measure alone is expected to generate an estimated $860 million a year and add 465,000 new jobs across the region. The wealth of transportation projects in these measures serve as economic catalysts for the communities that they serve. The Crenshaw-LAX transit line is a great example of what I'm talking about. It will provide high-capacity, frequent, and reliable Metro rail service to and from the city of Inglewood for the first time when it opens. I'm confident that it will create new economic opportunities to complement our city's own multi-billion-dollar investment in a new sports entertainment infrastructure. Moving from the economy to the environment, who says these two critical issues must be competing interests? We could grow the economy and at the same time save the environment. Metro has the right vision. We have a game plan for addressing the environment that will benefit Los Angeles County's residents, our economy, and the environment that we need so desperately. Metro continues to think boldly and challenge itself to provide mobility services in the most environmentally sound and energy-efficient manner possible. Last July, the Metro Board approved the agency's updated Climate Action and Adaptation Plan. This is a visionary, industry-leading plan containing 13 strategies for dramatically reducing carbon dioxide emissions and making the Metro system more resilient to climate change. We will add zero-emission vehicles to our fleet, increase our use of biomethane as we move towards a zero-emissions bus fleet. These and other strategies will potentially save hundreds of millions of dollars as Metro strives to achieve zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. Overall, Metro has developed more than 150 programs to promote environmental stewardship and sustainability. Now, one thing on a personal note, for the most part, the concept of mass transit to the vast majority of people is an esoteric concept, something that's good for everyone else to do, but not for me to do. We're a car-based community here in the state of California, and we have to make mass transit into something that is seen as necessary and beneficial, as opposed to this great idea that's good for other people. In Inglewood, we'll be hosting, in 8 of the next 10 years, an event of national or international significance. Now, I had asked to see if they could run a YouTube clip, and I don't know if they were able to load that yet. Is somebody going to signal me whether they can? Seeing no signal, I'll do it by voice. So for your own edification, when you go to YouTube the next time, bring up Inglewood 2019. In 2020, the Rams and the Chargers will play their home games in Inglewood. In 2021, we're one of the finalists for WrestleMania. I'm not a WrestleMania guy, but people tell me that's a great thing. In 2022, Super Bowl 56 will be hosted in Inglewood. The NFL networks will leave Culver City and come to Inglewood. In 2023, the NC2A National Championship Bowl game will be hosted in Inglewood. In 2024, the Clippers of Inglewood will play their first game here. 2020, again, the Rams and Chargers will play their home games here. 2026, we'll host the FIFA World Cup. And in 2028, the Summer Olympic World Games. In the last 2.5 years, we've secured the commitment of 3 professional sports franchises, but more importantly, we got the LA Philharmonic to buy a building from us to move their youth orchestra program to Inglewood. It's going to be designed by Frank Gehry and its renovation. "300 youth, 100 from Inglewood, 200 from the region, will be tutored and mentored by the greatest orchestra musicians in the world. But the crowning piece for us is that the Girl Scouts of Greater Los Angeles, who are 35,000 strong, have moved from Marina del Rey to Inglewood. And when the Girl Scouts come, it's all over. So right now, we're working on a connection, a people mover between the Crenshaw line at Florence and Market Street, which is about 1.2 miles from the Forum, a mile and a half from the stadium, and about 1.8 miles from the proposed Clippers arena, so that we can bridge that last mile. And we feel that securing that last piece will make the Crenshaw line a must-ride option for people that want to go to all the sports entertainment options there. And so we're willing to be the guinea pig that makes it happen. And that's the key. We have to make mass transportation pleasing, a desirable option to traffic. So I want to welcome again to Mobility 21, Inglewood 2019. It's a good video. Talk to you.
Thank you, Mayor Butts, and thank you, Metro, to leading us beyond the limits. Let's give them a round of applause again. Thank you. So HNTB is a proud partner to the Mobility 21 Board of Directors, and we are pleased and honored to sponsor Mobility 21 Summit once again. My name is Kimberly Slaughter, and I'm a Senior Vice President and the National Transit and Rail Market Sector Leader for HNTB. And we are also members of the Mobility 21 Advisory Board. As this year's underwriting sponsor, it is my honor to highlight the work that our company does as a longtime partner in California If you will indulge us for a moment, we would like to share a brief video with you.
When you first come out of school, sometimes you don't know what to expect with that first project. And in 4 to 5 years, I got 8 to 10 years of experience, from the technical side of architecture to working with our design leadership and our aviation leadership on really how complex an airport terminal is.
H&B has afforded me the opportunity to work on the biggest, most high-profile projects in Los Angeles, going from a highway widening project to a light rail project, and now working on a people mover for LAX. I don't think there's any other company out there that could have provided those opportunities for me, and I'm hoping to spend the next 10 years or longer at H&TB as well.
Working with the right-of-way team, I'm just learning a lot, bringing new ideas to the table, gaining different insight from the team, and hoping to grow my career here at H&TB.
I'm really excited to work on this project because it will be a major piece of LA's infrastructure, and myself and all the inhabitants of LA will be able to use this on a daily basis, and I'll be able to experience this project for the rest of my lifetime, and that means a lot to me.
We have a unique situation where we have a strong local presence in Orange County doing projects for Orange County Transportation Authority, a long history of doing that, but also the national expertise required for a project of this complexity required a lot of different disciplines joining together to really drive the project forward and make it so that the community sees it as a seamless, integrated project with their city.
This project has such a great significance in the fact that once completed, it will stand as an instant icon to the city of Los Angeles. It will be in countless movies, films, commercials. People the world over will see this bridge. And this is a really great opportunity in my career as a young designer with HNTB, because this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
A big thank you to Kimberly Slaughter for being here today, and thanks for another round of applause for this year's titanium sponsor and underwriter, HNTB. We are truly honored to feature our next speaker. Just this past July, he became the 3rd secretary of the California State Transportation Agency, following his appointment in April by Governor Newsom. He is responsible for oversight of 40,000 employees across 8 departments, boards, and commissions, whose mission is to advance a safe, environmentally sustainable transportation system that maximizes mobility for all Californians. A longtime transportation leader with experience in the private sector, as well as all 3 levels of government. He served as Vice President of Government Affairs for Hyundai Motor Company and spent nearly 8 years in senior-level roles at the U.S. Department of Transportation. He served as FHWA Deputy Administrator, Associate Administrator for Policy and Governmental Affairs, and before that, as Deputy Assistant Secretary for Governmental Affairs in the Office of the Secretary of Transportation. Locally, he has a rich history of serving California through various roles, including Deputy Executive Officer with the Los Angeles County Metropolitan Transportation Authority and in the administration of Governor Gray Davis. A California native, he earned his BA in Political Science from Occidental College and a Master of Public Administration from the University of Southern California. Please help me welcome David Kim, Secretary of the California State Transportation Agency.
Thank you very much, Doug. Good morning. Wow, what a sight. 1,400 of you up here. It's a beautiful sight, so it's great to be here. It is really a tremendous pleasure and honor to join you today as we kick off what I think will be a truly stimulating day of discussion and dialogue, and so it's great to have you. Also, I took a look at the conference agenda, and wow, what an amazing lineup of speakers as well as panel discussion breakout sessions, and I want to congratulate Mobility 21 for organizing really a truly extraordinary conference today. And I also want to say, over the years I've known Mobility 21, and I've been attending these conferences on and off over the past few years, I have seen the power of this coalition and the influence and voice you have in Washington and Sacramento. You came to see me in Washington many times, and I expect you'll see me many times in Sacramento as well. as I begin this journey. And it is really a great thing to see when you have the public sector and the private sector coming together, joining forces to raise your voice and to advocate for the interests of Southern California. So give yourselves a round of applause. Well, here we are, Friday morning. It's early in the morning, early for some of you. We're here at Disneyland, so I thought I would start with something a little lighthearted, and especially since we saw Mickey Mouse on stage just a few minutes ago. What does Mickey Mouse use to browse the internet? An iPad mini. What did Snow White say when her photos were not ready yet? Someday my prince will come. Get it? Prince, P-R-I-N-T-S, P-R-I-N-C. Okay, last one. What time does Donald Duck wake up? At the quack of dawn. All right. Enough with the corny jokes. At least you're awake, even though we had loud pulsating music earlier this morning. Let me say that being here is a homecoming of sorts. As you may have heard from the bio, I spent the past 25 years in the East Coast before returning to California, where I was born and raised. And although some of you may know that I grew up in Davis, next to Sacramento, this right here, Southern California, is where I came of age as an adult, where I attended college, where I lived for many years after college. And so this is where it all started career-wise. And so I feel really at home here. It's always a thrill to be in Orange County or LA County, Riverside, San Bernardino, San Diego, you name it, Ventura. It's great to be here, and so thank you so much for having me. You know, I've been on the job for almost 3 months now, and almost every day someone asks me, David, what is your vision? And legislators have asked me the same thing, and folks in the state legislature. And I'm happy to tell you that we at the California State Transportation Agency have developed a new vision statement. Our vision is to transform the lives of all Californians through a safe, accessible, low-carbon, 21st century multimodal transportation system. Thank you. Now, the first part of that statement, to transform the lives of all Californians, really speaks to the idea that transportation is about people and improving their quality of life. And I think our job, our collective job, is to ensure that the mobility needs of individuals as well as society as a whole can thrive in a healthy, safe, and productive manner. And I must say, listening to previous speakers as well as the video, transformation is taking place in Los Angeles, in Orange County, in Inglewood, in many other places. And so it is a thrill to see, and we are here at the state level to join you in that transformation. So you're probably asking, how are we going to fulfill that vision? And I think it really starts with asking some fundamental questions and considering the fact that we've got a lot of challenges in front of us. For example, California's population is increasing and aging. Congestion and long commutes are a fact of life here in Southern California and everywhere up and down the state of California. The transportation sector is a major contributor to greenhouse gas emissions. And fatalities and serious injuries on our roadways, especially with bicyclists and pedestrians, are on the rise. So these are some big challenges in front of all of us. We are approaching them with a deep sense of urgency at CalSTA. And we're also asking questions like, how do we improve what we're doing? What are the new ideas that are out there that we need to tap into? What are the ideas that we need to shift and change? Where do we need to put more attention and focus? And where do we need more help? I know the answer to that last question. It's right here in this room. It's all of you, and together we're going to figure all of this out. I also want to say that we at CalSTA are building a fantastic team. For starters, we have a brand new director of the Department of Motor Vehicles, Steve Gordon. Steve comes to us from Silicon Valley. He has over 30 years of experience in the high-tech and tech sectors, comes with a great background in IT and a passion for service, and so he's going to help transform the Department of Motor Vehicles and improve our services to all of you, the citizens of California. We also have a brand new director of the Office of Traffic Safety, and that's Barbara Rooney. Barbara has many years of experience in state government and comes with some great, creative, innovative ideas on how to reverse that trend of growing pedestrian, bicyclist, and motorist fatalities and serious injuries. We also have a brand new Caltrans director who will join us next month, Tokes Amishakin. For those of you who do not know him, Tokes is from the Tennessee Department of Transportation, an incredible background in transportation planning, active transportation, and he is going to be an exciting addition to our team. And I know many of you know him. For those of you who do not, you will enjoy getting to know him. He will begin with us at the end of October. And on my own team at CalSTA, a number of terrific individuals, my undersecretary, Alyssa Konov, who is not here today, but many of you know her from Metrolink. She was the former deputy CEO at Metrolink, and before that, she and I worked together at the Federal Highway Administration in Washington. So she's the number 2 person at CalSTA. Also, we have a brand new position at CalSTA that has never before existed. It's called the Deputy Secretary for Innovative Mobility Solutions. Governor Newsom appointed Lori Pepper to the position. She comes to us from Honda North America, and she handled these issues at Honda, including autonomous and connected vehicles, blockchain, robotics, AI. So she will be an instrumental person in leading our efforts to really look to the future of transportation in California. Also, a very familiar face to many of you, Chad Edison, has been reappointed by Governor Newsom to continue his service as our point person on transit and rail issues. So we're thrilled to have Chad back in this role, and many of you will continue to work with him in the years ahead. So we are establishing and assembling a top-notch team in Sacramento, and that's well prepared and ready to tackle the many challenges in front of us. Now, I'd like to address a couple of issues, recent developments that have caught the attention of many of you, perhaps most or all of you. And the first is Governor Newsom's executive order on climate change, which he unveiled exactly a week ago today. And let me start with the big picture. I think it's important to really take a step back and put it in the proper context. The effects of climate change are all around us. We see it every day. Extreme weather patterns, more flooding, more fires, intense temperatures on both extremes. And this is going to require some big changes in terms of how we live our lives. And we really need to keep an eye on what it's going to take to mitigate the effects of climate change and also to adapt to it. Because if we fail to take these steps, future generations, our kids and our grandkids, will pay the price. Also, I think most of you know the data point. 40% of all greenhouse gas emissions come from the transportation sector. So that means all of us in transportation have a responsibility to be a part of the solution. So having said that, let me make a few points. Number one, we are going to undertake this effort in a way that works from the standpoint of the economy, jobs, and income inequality. Number two, we will be pragmatic and collaborative in how we get there. Number three, the executive order does not ignore the need to maintain our highways, roads, and bridges. The fix-it-first philosophy will continue. And number four, this is all about actively exploring innovative options and strategies to manage congestion, to reduce vehicle miles traveled, and to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And this includes looking at everything that's innovative, including pricing strategies, dynamic pricing, congestion pricing. And on that point, I want to give a shout out to SCAG and LA Metro for jumping in and taking a close look at a potential cordon pricing system in West LA. This is exactly the kind of conversation we need to have with our fellow citizens. As uncomfortable as it will be, and it's very controversial, we got to look at that because there are very few options for reducing congestion, reducing VMT, and really changing the way in which people travel. So I really want to congratulate SCAG and LA Metro for leading the way, and I'm sure many others will do the same thing. Fifth point, CalSTA will be developing an implementation plan on the executive order with your input. And so we will be identifying opportunities within existing programs to carry out the directives in the executive order. And so as I said earlier, we're going to be collaborative, and pragmatic, and we want your involvement. So stay tuned for next steps. The other issue I want to touch upon is something that has caused some anxiety within the transportation world, and that is the Trump administration's safe vehicle rules and their final rule that was recently issued that revokes the California waiver under the Clean Air Act. And I want to assure all of you that this is front and center on our radar screen, and we are fully aware of and sensitive to the situation faced by many MPOs around the state whose regional transportation plans and sustainable community strategies may not be approved in a timely manner due to the air emissions model, the CARB emissions model that was rendered or that was invalidated by the final rule. This is a very technical and highly complicated issue, so I won't get into the details, but I just want to say we are mindful of the potential consequences when it comes to project delivery as well as funding because of the transportation conformity requirements and how they may or may not be met. I want to tell you that we have already formed an internal working group within the administration with our administration partners, with CARB, California Air Resources Board, Caltrans, and the Governor's Office, and to identify potential near-term options. We are confident we will be able to address these issues together and identify a good path forward. And so to that end, I commit to all of you here today that we are going to continue to communicate frequently, regularly with all affected parties until we get to the finish line, until we find a solution. That is my commitment to you. Because we are all in this together, we are going to solve this together, and we at CalSTA are firmly committed to finding solutions to fixing this dilemma caused by the final rule. So as we tackle the many issues the federal government has thrown our way, I want to say we are not losing focus on our agenda. And one of the things I was really excited to hear about when I got to CalSTA is the fact that we are embarking on a new long-range strategic transportation plan. It's called California Transportation Plan 2050, or CTP 2050 as we call it. And this is a really important document that looks at the future of transportation. The last time the state did this update was in 2015. And if you think about it, the world has changed so dramatically over the past 4 or 5 years. And this is the right time to embark on a new vision, a new blueprint for the future. We want your input as well. This is a process that is just getting started, so there will be plenty of opportunities for you to weigh in and add your voice. Also, I want to mention the California Freight Mobility Plan. That is also another near-term deliverable that is due in a couple of months. And just like CTP 2050, this is an effort to chart a course for the future, to lay out a vision when it comes to freight and goods movement, to identify the needs as well as opportunities, and really to lay the path forward. This is due in a couple months, as I mentioned earlier. CTP 2050 is not due until the end of next year. And so this effort has been ongoing. Many of you have already submitted your input and given us your recommendations, and for that, I thank you very much, and we will keep you posted as we near the finish line on the Freight Mobility Plan. And so let me close by simply saying that I truly value your partnership and believe that collaboration and communication are the essential ingredients in terms of tackling the many challenges as well as opportunities in front of all of us. We are going to do all of these things together, and when we do, we will be able to truly transform the lives of all Californians. Thank you very much, and have a great conference.
Thank you, Secretary Kim, for your laughter this morning, but more importantly, for sharing with us your vision of the future of transportation for California. Let's give another warm round of applause to Secretary Kim. Our next speaker brings incredible insights from Washington, D.C. and the national public transportation stage. APTA is the only association in North America that represents all modes of public transportation, including bus, paratransit, light rail, commuter rail, subways, waterborne services, and intercity and high-speed passenger rail. More than 90% of the public transportation users in the United States and Canada ride APTA member systems. On January 8th, 2018, Paul Skatellis was appointed president and CEO of APTA. CEO Skatellis leads the charge at APTA with over 1,500 public and private sector members, including many of our own here at Mobility 21. Previous to APTA, he served both the public and private sector for more than 40 years in various leadership positions, including CEO of Public Transit Systems in Pittsburgh and Orlando, and as Senior Vice President for WSP USA. Ever on the front lines of federal funding and policies, research and workforce development, CEO Skatellis is here to provide his insights into the federal landscape and future impacts to public transportation. Please help me welcome to the podium Paul Skatellis, President and CEO of APTA.
Good morning. Wow, those lights are bright. Hey, David, that's a fabulous introduction. Can I borrow you some time? It is wonderful to be here. It is an amazing sight to look around this room and see all of the transportation advocates and professionals and people here in Southern California and really across the state that make good things happen for transportation. It's a great honor for me to be here and to have an opportunity to share a few thoughts with you. First, I want to congratulate Mobility 21, its board of directors and leadership, for just a spectacular event. I was with you last night for the reception. This morning, had a chance to grab a cup of coffee and walk around the exhibit hall. There's a lot going on here. It's a great vibe. When I heard the music on this morning, I wasn't quite sure. I turned to David. I said, David, do we dance to this or do we talk? I'm not sure which. And somebody said we got to do both. But there's a great deal of excitement in this room for good reasons. I don't have to tell you, but certainly from the standpoint of our view at APTA and Washington, D.C., California is a bellwether. You guys are the leaders in so many respects, not because only of the economic clout that you have as a state, and certainly this region of Southern California, but also because of your innovation and the things that you've done to advance transportation. It's impressive. We certainly watch very closely what is happening and try to be a part of what you're doing here. And we're very proud at APTA to always highlight the accomplishments and the advancements that are being made here. And I have a great privilege of working with many of your professionals in this room who lead the transit organizations here in Southern California. You've got great leadership here. And make no mistake about it, leadership always makes a difference. Always, without exception, and you have some of the very, very best that are here. Well, let me just say that without any hesitation, that we are in a dramatic time of change in transportation, not just public transportation, but across the board. And lest anyone feel badly about, gosh, all this disruption that's happening in our industry, what are we going to do? Every industry is being disrupted, has been disrupted over the last number of years, especially the last few years. Transport, certainly no exception. We're seeing it across the board. New technologies emerging, new services being offered, communities trying to figure out what they're going to do, how they're going to put these pieces together. Our own transit organizations, quite frankly, as an industry, and someone who's been in this industry, I think I can say this, that this is the most dramatic change we've faced. And in many respects, a wake-up call for our industry to say, wait a minute, let's take a step back here. Are we doing what all needs to be done? Do we need to be thinking about solutions differently? Do we need to be thinking differently about the services that we provide? And I will tell you, from my travels around the country and from the work that we're doing at APTA, the answer is an unequivocal yes, absolutely. Agencies are not sitting still. And I will tell you, it's a big concern for me. As I go to the Hill and I advocate what's happening in the industry, the kinds of things that are going on, I don't want people to come away with a wrong impression that, you guys continue to do what you've done. You got your bus service and your transit service. Okay, so what is new? There's a lot going on that is new that doesn't always meet the eye. Agencies are really rethinking. They're rethinking solutions, and it's evidenced by what they're delivering in service. Talk to them about what's happening in terms of their thinking of new partnerships, new micro-transit services that they're piloting, reimagining their bus networks, which is really a key issue for me. I will say that many, many systems across the country are just getting around to relooking their street networks, their bus networks. Long overdue, because there's so much promise in being able to provide additional efficiencies, figure out new corridors to serve and how to serve them than perhaps we have in the past decades. That's a great opportunity. It's happening all over the country. It's happening all over. Agencies are embracing that and finding new ways to do it, and it's beginning to take a very positive impact in terms of their ridership. But beyond that, new partnerships are being established, whether it's a TNC, whether it's a new way to deliver off-hours services and the like. Agencies are innovating. And here in Southern California is no exception. You guys are leading the way. We're always looking at what LA Metro, for example, is doing with their Office of Innovation. And so those are the kinds of things that I want to be in a position to advocate for, to call attention to make sure that those perhaps who are on the fence, they may not be great transit supporters, understand our industry isn't standing still by any means. It is innovating, and it is doing things that go beyond just what has been done traditionally. You know, this past summer, we led at APTA a study mission to Europe, and we went to Vienna, Austria, Hamburg, Germany, and Helsinki, Finland. And our purpose was to look at MaaS, mobility as a service. What's happening? What are some of the leaders within these other cities doing? There are so many takeaways from that. We're publishing a report that will be on our website very shortly. But more than anything, what I came away with, these were 3 cities where public transportation is embedded in the community, better than a 70% capture rate for trips being made for people within the city. And yet their focus, their unabashed focus is, what can we do more to make our services more attractive, more appealing, making sure that we can really serve the needs of the community. That to me was so impressive. I have to tell you, if I were sitting thinking I'm capturing 70% of the trips, I'm thinking I'm doing pretty good. And I might have a moment to say I'm going to relax a bit, but that's not what's happening. And I think that's a key message for us here in the States. Let's not be complacent. We have lots to do, lots of opportunities to grow. We do need to continue to expand our networks, our services. You all have stepped forward with, again, self-help, raising your own revenues, not just relying on the federal government to do so. And that is the right answer. There's no doubt about that. But it's going to take a lot of resources sustained over a long period of time. Let's face it, our highway network is ubiquitous, right? It's everywhere. Our public transit services are not. So when people talk about, well, people aren't using the transit services, you cannot use a product or service that doesn't exist or exists in such limited scale that it's not attractive. Our job is to make this system as extensive as we can, as frequently as we can, so people can use it with confidence and reliability. When the reliability of our services suffer, what do? We turn people away. You know, in Washington, D.C. and New York City over the last several years, if you've watched any of the headlines, you know that they've been struggling. State of good repair, falling behind in terms of making the investment for public transit. What's the direct result of that? Less reliable service. So we need to invest to make sure our services are reliable and they're as extensive as they can be to give people an opportunity to flourish in what they do, opportunities to live their lives, to have a job, to move about, to take part in all of what life has to offer. Here's where public transit has a very unique space. No one occupies this responsibility that we do as public transit. We care not only about serving people in particular quarters, but making our services affordable and equitable. Everyone can use public transit. Everyone needs to be able to use public transit. There's no other segment that can make that claim. We have that unique space and responsibility. All of that takes money. No surprise. It takes resources. And so what you're doing locally is a great step. It's a great example for all of us. Our job in Washington, in part, is to advocate on your behalf on the Hill and with the administration for continued investment in public transportation. I want to say a couple words about that. We've had 2 very good years at the federal level, the highest appropriations in our history, about $16 billion of transit and rail funds. That's great success. This fiscal year, we're about at the same level, but we don't have an appropriations bill yet. We have a continuing resolution, as you may know, that carries us through November the 21st. We'll see where that goes. We worked very hard. We have a provision in there, so the automatic 12% cut, which was part of the Restenkowski bill does not go into effect. So we have our highest levels. We need to sustain that throughout the fiscal year. The importance of that is that we need a baseline that is the highest baseline we can attain as we go into reauthorization of the FAST Act. You know, all of us had high hopes coming into this past year. There's going to be $1 trillion, maybe a $2 trillion infrastructure bill at the federal level. We're going to have new investment across the board, roads, bridges, public transit. And we thought we really had an opportunity for that. Obviously, the happenings of the last few days and week are suggesting otherwise, that opportunity is not within our grasp. So our focus is on reauthorizing the FAST Act, which expires in September of 2020. We're just a year away. And what we have come together at APTA with all of our membership is an agreement on principles that are calling and urging for a $145 billion investment over 6 years for public transit. That's roughly a doubling of the program. And it has what I consider three major elements. State of good repair. Obviously, we need to keep our systems maintaining in a proper fashion to attract and maintain the ridership that we have. The most glaring examples is what I mentioned, the Washington, D.C. and New York, who have struggled over the last few years to dig out of a hole of deferred maintenance. But it's across the board. Certainly it's not just in New York and D.C. It's here in California. It's even with smaller bus systems, they need to be able to replace their fleets. Rail car fleets for other systems, stations, track and signals and communication systems that need to be maintained at a high level. So we need state of good repair. The federal government a few years ago came out with its own report, said a $90 billion backlog. That was in 2015, the U.S. Department of Transportation. So it's not even an APTA number. That number now is at least $100 billion backlog in state of good repair. So we need to focus on those needs through those resources. Secondly, capital investment grants, CIG, those of you might be more familiar with New Starts, allows communities and systems to be able to undertake a BRT project, a light rail project, whatever it might be. Those are more expensive improvements and investments that do take specialized funding availability to make that happen. And the third is what we touched on in the very beginning and what the subject here is about, mobility. A mobility initiative, broader, deeper, larger, more robust than what exists today, a funding source at the federal level that will allow systems and communities to be able to do more experimentation, more service deployment. Our agencies are risk averse by definition, right? They're publicly funded. They're going to be hesitant about how much they can spend. Is it going to be successful? We need to give them a little more room, a bit more resource so they can do some more experimentation. We need a larger fund to make that happen. Those are the three prime issues that we have in a new reauthorization. Lest you think that this is only APTA talking, let me tell you a little bit about who's behind an infrastructure investment and infusion of more resources. We have the U.S. Chamber of Commerce that has come out with a position now. They're more than 1 year in this position, and that is calling for a 5-cent per gallon increase in the federal gasoline tax over 5 years, 25 cents. Of course, the federal gasoline tax has not been increased since 1993. Believe that. So the Chamber is proposing this for highways, roads, bridges, and public transit, the U.S. Chamber. Who else supports that? The American Trucking Association. Who else supports that? The National Association of Manufacturers. These are not organizations that you might think at first blush, are they really supporting this kind of investment across the board, including for public transit? And the answer is they do, because they recognize that our economy hinges on this. They need to move goods and people more effectively. I don't know if you've seen any of the statistics here recently, but if you look at our e-commerce projections, you know, what's being done at Amazon and UPS and the like, it's going to grow geometrically. The number of vehicles on the street to be delivering packages and the like is going to grow tremendously. It's going to squeeze space in our street infrastructure, which means we need to find more ways, efficient ways to get people and other means of transportation. So that's the focus of what we're doing. Again, I'm so pleased to have this opportunity to be here with you. Again, I will say to you, it's not remarkable to you because you know it, but you know, today, if anywhere you turn, in any community, any organization says, we're having a mobility conference. Mobility comes up almost at every turn, and yet you're on your 18th year of mobility, and so it says a lot about your forward thinking. Continue the great work that you're doing. So good to be with you. Please know that you've got a partner in Washington and APTA. We're here to be a partner with you. We can solve these issues. They're not beyond us. They're challenging without a doubt, but they're not beyond us. We've got talent, we've got expertise, we've got passionate people who really know how to solve problems, public and private. And so I urge you, go to Washington when you can, provide that message that only you can deliver your local message about what's happening in your communities, and we can make good things happen. Thanks for your time. Enjoy the conference, and I do appreciate your invitation. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul, for your leadership in D.C. and for helping build a strong future for public transportation. And now for the first part of today's 2019 awards presentation. Each year, Mobility 21 honors individuals and organizations that have made a significant contribution and impact our region. Over the past 18 years, Mobility 21 has recognized top industry leaders for their contributions to improve mobility for the businesses and communities of Southern California. This year's honorees are especially worthy of recognition by Mobility 21. The first award recognizes the 2019 Public Sector Leader of the Year. Congresswoman Grace F. Napolitano, currently in her 11th term serving the state of California's 32nd Congressional District, is a true and consistent champion of enhancing our region's mobility through federal investments in our transportation infrastructure. There has been no better advocate in the U.S. Congress for Southern California's transportation issues than Congresswoman Grace Napolitano. Congresswoman Napolitano currently serves as the senior California member of the powerful House Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure. As a senior member, the Congresswoman was appointed to serve on the conference committee that ushered in the passage of the first long-term surface transportation authorization bill in nearly a decade, the FAST Act, which resulted in roughly $26 billion in federal funding for California's roads and transit projects and programs. Regardless of whether a Democrat or Republican occupied the White House, Congresswoman Napolitano has always assisted our region in securing major U.S. DOT grant awards, and has also been a driving force in ensuring that federal surface transportation bills address the unique and pressing mobility needs facing our region. Congresswoman Napolitano could not join us today as the House is currently in session. However, she does send her sincere thanks to Southern California and would like to address Mobility 21 with the following remarks by video.
Mobility 21 is proud to recognize Congresswoman Grace F. Napolitano with the 2019 Public Sector Leader of the Year Award. Congresswoman Napolitano, currently in her 11th term serving California's 32nd Congressional District, is a true and consistent champion of enhancing our region's mobility through federal investments in transportation infrastructure. Although her district spans Los Angeles County, she has been a strong advocate in Congress for all of Southern California's transportation issues. Congresswoman Napolitano currently serves as the senior California member of the powerful House Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure, and was appointed to serve on the conference committee that ushered in the passage of the first long-term surface transportation authorization bill in nearly a decade, the FAST Act, which resulted in $26 billion in federal funding for California. Congresswoman Napolitano has also been a steadfast and effective leader in finding regional consensus on complex transportation issues, and has consistently assisted our region in securing major U.S. DOT grant awards, and has been a driving force in ensuring that federal surface transportation bills address our region's unique and diverse needs.
Thank you, Mobility 21, for this great honor of being recognized as the 2019 Public Sector Leader of the Year. I would like to thank Chairman Dr. Ray Wolf and the Board of Directors, but I particularly want to thank LA Metro CEO Phil Washington for informing me of this award a few months ago during Mobility 21's visit to the Capitol. Mr. Washington and all of you from the public and private sectors have been great partners in advancing transportation priorities for the whole Southern California region. My congressional colleagues and I are only able to accomplish transportation victories in Washington, such as the $26 billion to California through FAST Act, $8 billion in capital investment transit grants and bus and alternative bus grants, and the $10 billion in freight corridor improvement because of organizations like you that come together to work with one voice for transportation policy and priorities. I have been honored to work in the transportation sector through my private and public career, starting at Ford, being a member of SCAG as a city councilwoman, and sitting on Transportation Committee in the State Assembly, and now being the senior Californian on the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. Although I greatly appreciate this award as an acknowledgement of my career, our work is not done, and we will continue to advocate for Southern California with the upcoming Water Resources Development Act, WRDA, Pipeline Safety Reauthorization Bill, and the Airport Investment Legislation, plus the Reauthorization of FACT Act, Surface Transportation Programs. I look forward to continuing to work with you on improving the daily commute and the goods movement and efficiency for all of Southern Californians. Thank you again for this great honor. Truly appreciate it.
Mobility 21 presents Congresswoman Grace F. Napolitano with the 2019 Public Sector Leader of the Year Award for her leadership in advancing transportation and mobility in Southern California.
Our next award is for an incredible private sector leader. They are not only a household name in the United States, but also throughout the world. We are so privileged to call Ford a local partner and friend to Mobility 21. Over the years, Ford has displayed their smart vehicles, spoken at our conferences, and shared innovations across the industry. Mobility 21 is so very pleased to honor Ford Mobility as our leading private sector partner and mobility solutions provider for 2019.
Mobility 21 is proud to recognize Ford Mobility with the 2019 Private Sector Leader of the Year Award. In 2016, Ford Motor Company announced the creation of Ford Mobility to design, build, and invest in emerging mobility services, signifying Ford's expanded business model to be both an auto and a mobility company. Designed to compete like a startup company, Ford Mobility designs and builds mobility services on its own and collaborates with startups and tech companies. In Southern California and throughout the nation, Ford Mobility is partnering with municipalities to complement existing transportation options to find innovative solutions to micromobility challenges. Mobility 21 presents Ford Mobility with the 2019 Private Sector Leader of the Year Award for its leadership in advancing transportation and mobility in Southern California.
Please help me welcome to the podium John Coleman, Director of City Solutions, here to accept Ford Mobility's 2019 Private Sector Leader of the Year Award.
Good morning. It is truly humbling to be in front of this audience to accept this award. And I feel obligated to tell you some of the history about Ford Mobility because a lot of people just stop with the word Ford and they don't move on to the mobility part. About 20 years ago, Bill Ford, Henry Ford's great-great-grandson, became chairman of our company. And he asked a simple but profound question: what is the 21st century version of the Model T? I had the pleasure of being part of that project, and after a couple of years, we designed a really cool car. only to realize that a car wasn't the answer. What the Model T did for people was enabled movement. It enabled them to do things they could never do before. So now when we talk about Ford Mobility, we believe that freedom of movement drives human progress. And human progress requires compassion. You have to keep people at the center of what you're doing and meet them where they are to try and understand the challenges they're having so you can find solutions that will enable them to thrive and flourish by their own terms. So when I look at this group of people collected here and I see the work that's been done here, and I've been involved in a lot of projects in LA since about 2008, I think was my first project in Pasadena. And I look at what's happening here, and one of the most important lessons that I've learned in the last 20 years about mobility, I actually learned in LA last year. So I want to share that idea with you because it has truly changed how I approach this business over the last 12 months. So a basic understanding of governance is balancing tensions between freedom, efficiency, and equity. And a lot of people hear it, and you've already heard the term equity several times this morning, but a woman I met here a year ago at a conference said, if you really want to change how people move and improve quality of life, every time you hear the word equity, substitute the word justice in its place. And at the time I thought, well, that's just semantics. But then I realized the first time I did it, it changed everything that happened with the people I was working with. So I started to investigate a little bit more why. And the difference between the two words is that equity generates a positive emotion of hope. And hope is critical for any success. But the word justice generates the positive emotion of compassion. And compassion leads to action. So for a lot of my time, I've been generating all kinds of hope, but no action. And once I started using the word justice and framing things around justice and looking at social injustices, we were able to do an awful lot more, and it galvanized people to make decisions and do things that they would not have done otherwise. So I share that lesson with you because I learned it in LA and I want to give back to the community here. And as you move through the balance of today and the balance of next year and with whatever projects you're working on, I would encourage you to focus on justice and compassion to drive human progress here in Southern California. As I said, I'm humbled to accept this award. I'm incredibly inspired by the work I've seen happen over the last 12 years in Southern California, and I am incredibly energized about what the future holds for this region. So thank you very much. Have a great day, and I'm truly humbled to be here. Thank you.
What a terrific way to kick off today's summit. Please help me give another warm round of applause to all of our amazing speakers and our award winners. I now have a special announcement only for the speakers in the Chairman's Roundtable. Chairman's Roundtable speakers, please meet in the Magic Kingdom Ballroom 1 on the second floor in the next few minutes. For this breakout session only, speakers will need special lapel mics, so please go to your session for preparation in the next few minutes. We're now going to take a networking break before the concurrent breakout sessions begin at 10:45 a.m. Now, this is our largest expo to date with more than 120 exhibitors and a record-breaking 1,300 attendees. All breakouts today will be held in the Magic Kingdom ballrooms on the second floor. We do have wayfinding signs and ushers to assist you to your preferred breakout session. The expo hall is to the left as you exit, and please don't miss out on our fun new interactive station at our hospitality suite, hosted by Gannett Fleming and Mark Thomas. This year's hospitality suite includes refreshments, charging stations for those mobile devices, and an opportunity to hang out with Centipede and Donkey Kong Jr., as well as a chance to win 2 full-day Disneyland tickets. Now, lunch will start promptly at noon, and we'll see you back here in the main ballroom. Thank you, everybody.